usual for me. I get sort of grumpy when I'm sick. 2 weeks ago, I had promised that I would go preach, and anytime that it's church work, I hate to not do it. And so, when I say that I'm going to do something, I want to be able to fulfill that. And so I went ahead and I preached at Triple Tree. And then I had other commitments in Corpus, and so then we traveled to Corpus and preached again there in the afternoon. And so, but the Lord helped me. I wasn't coughing all over the place, so I don't expect to do that here today. Pero le doy gracias a Dios, está diciendo que ha tenido esta tos que no se me quiere quitar. Ya llevo, yo creo, todo un mes y ya voy para el mes de noviembre, pero tenía citas hace 2 semanas de predicar y las pude cumplir, gracias a Dios. Pero pido sus paciencias y me empiezo a toser. I want to bring a topic to you that was brought to us last night. And all I could think about was the story of Lazarus. Me estaba recordando la historia de Lázaro. And our pastor brought an interesting devotion last night in the activities that we have seen in our city. Actividades que se han visto en nuestra ciudad for the celebration of the Day of the Dead, la celebración del Día de los Muertos. I don't know about you, but it seems like year after year, these activities seem to be getting bigger and bigger. Parece que estas actividades se han hecho muy grandes cada año. I was kind of the oddball at work on Thursday because everybody, all the teachers where I worked at were in their costumes. And of course I just wore regular work clothes. And of course everybody's asking, well, what's your costume? And I said, well, I'm your boss. This is your boss. Muchos me decían, el trabajo era todos con sus disfraces. Todos alborotados, ¿verdad? Con la fiesta, pero estaba diciendo que más y más parece que como que se alborota más la gente. Houses are being decorated, my whole school was being decorated, almost like Christmas, and people just excited, people just cheerful, and just, I don't know, it was just a whole different atmosphere, algo diferente que he visto. Como que hay mucho énfasis en la celebración de los muertos. I know that I preached about this before. Sé que he predicado de esto antes. But I think the story of Lazarus is so accurate for our time. Pienso que la historia de Lázaro está perfecto para nuestro estudio de hoy, para nuestro tiempo de hoy. You see, the Day of the Dead, el Día de los Muertos, started many, many years ago. Empezó hace de mucho tiempo. And I had always heard something about it, escuchaba algo de ello. But it's, like I said, it seems like more and more this culture seems to embrace so much other worlds. Nuestra cultura aquí en los Estados Unidos como que sigue abrazando muchas culturas de diferentes lugares del mundo. Our neighbors to the south, nuestros vecinos al sur, Mexico, that, wait till I'm done. Tienen esta celebración del Día de los Muertos, que empieza en noviembre, primero de noviembre hasta el 2 de noviembre, el 1 y el 2. They have this celebration called the Day of the Dead that starts on November 1st and then today, November 2nd. I learned that yesterday, no sé si lo aprendí o me recordé, that yesterday was Day of the Saints, or the Day of the Innocents, and All Saints Day. Ayer fue el Día de los Inocentes, que es el Día de los Santos. And today is just, I guess, the regular Day of the Dead. You're not that popular. Ahora nomás solamente es Día de los Muertos, o sea, los que no son santos. And they have this belief, right? And I know that we're familiar with it, I'm just reminding you, that tienen esta creencia that in these evenings is when these spirits come out of their graves, que en la noche de estos días de fiesta, salen estos espíritus de los sepulcros, ¿verdad? I don't know about those that get cremated. No sé de aquellos que son quemados, how that works. But the spirit comes out, right? So, according to them. And so that's why we see the building of these altars that they have. Por eso miramos cuando edifican un altar, como lo hemos visto ahora en nuestros días. So much that I think just coming to church, ahorita viniendo a la iglesia, I pointed to my wife and I said, you see that float over there? That's for the Day of the Dead. Había una demostración de como un altar, ¿verdad? Lleno de flores. Y le dije, esa es una presentación del Día de los Muertos. There is an interesting thing that I had also been learning, again, out of curiosity, I guess. I kept seeing at my work these girls with flowers on their head. Miraba a estas muchachas en mi trabajo con flores llenas en la cabeza and their face painted like death. Y la cara, el rostro pintado blanco como la muerte. So I started doing a little bit of research and come to find out that this is a goddess of the dead. Esta es una reina de los muertos, of the underworld, that comes from Mexico, que viene de México. Es una mujer que representa su reinado del mundo allá de abajo, creen unos, ruling over the afterlife. Ella gobierna ya después de esta vida. It says that she also has a husband, que también tiene un esposo, who's also another god, que también es otro Dios. What's interesting though, lo que me hace poco interés, is that I wonder how many of these people are actually realizing what they're portraying or what they're bringing about. Algo interesante es que no sé si las personas estas, las mujeres, ¿verdad? Que con las flores y las caras pintadas, si saben realmente lo que ellos están representando. Because all of this comes back to this sort of mystery of the afterlife. Todo esto es como un misterio de lo que resulta después de la muerte. And I wonder, I think I was telling Christina during lunch, I said, I wonder if these people realize that it's almost like you're invoking the presence of Satan, right? That Satan would probably appear to them and they would, get scared. Es como que uno estuviera invocando un espíritu, o sea, invocando a Satanás que se aparezca. Because that's what we're actually trying to do, or them, I mean. Es algo como muy similar a lo que miramos ahora en nuestra cultura tratando de hacer. Now, again, I bring this to our attention, lo traigo a nuestra atención, because there's so much talk about the afterlife, hay mucha plática sobre lo que pasa después de esta vida. I want you to go to Ephesians chapter 4, first of all. Efesios capítulo 4. And then we'll come back to the book of John. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 17. Efesios capítulo 4, versículo 17. This is words of the Apostle Paul talking to the church in Ephesus. El apóstol Pablo escribiendo esta carta a los de Éfeso. And he says this. He says, so I tell you this and insist on it in the Lord, that you must no longer live as the Gentiles. I don't want you to be like everyone else around you. In other words, I don't want you to live like I don't want you to live your life like every other San Antonian does. we were in the time of the Apostle Paul, and he lived here in San Antonio. He says, in the futility of their thinking, they are darkened in their understanding and separated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them due to the hardening of their hearts. Now nobody has done this to them, right? It says here, because when you begin to harden your heart, cuando empezamos a endurecer nuestro corazón, empezamos a hacer nosotros mismos esa ignorancia. Y es lo que dice el apóstol Pablo, que hay una ignorancia. Because they no longer want to hear what is true, but they want to hear all that is not true. All that is from darkness. Todo lo que es lo que pertenece a las tinieblas, solamente eso quieren saber. Así es de que vienen a ser ignorantes de lo que es verdadero. Y causa una separación de Dios. It says there in verse 18, they are darkened in their understanding and separated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them due to the hardening of their hearts. Verse 19, verso 19, having lost all sensitivity, they have given themselves over to sensuality so as to indulge in every kind of impurity with a continual lust for more. Dice el verso 19, dice, los cuales después que perdieron toda sensibilidad se entregaron a la lascivia para cometer con avidez toda clase de impureza. But the Apostle Paul was very clear in his word, in the message. El Apóstol Pablo era muy claro para el mensaje para nosotros hoy. To no longer live. In other words, don't get involved in those things. Ya no involucrarnos nosotros, no meternos en esa clase de manera de vivir. It's interesting that in our time today, it doesn't have to be Halloween for people to dress up. Es interesante hoy en nuestro tiempo hoy que ya no tiene que ser el Halloween, ¿verdad? Para que la persona use un disfraz. I'm aware of it because my daughter was into these festivals called Sam Japan, where they dress up in, I don't know, these characters and attend, these conventions, and people dress up and go all out on their costume. Hay alguna fiesta que se lleva a cabo en ciertas ocasiones durante el año, lo sé porque mi hija me lo dice, donde la persona se viste, se disfrace como un carácter de japonés. So it doesn't take Halloween to do that. No lleva esta ocasión para usar un disfraz. John chapter 11, Juan capítulo 11. The death of Lazarus, la muerte de Lázaro. Now we've seen this story before. Hemos visto esta historia antes. For we know that Mary, Martha, and Lazarus were friends of Jesus Christ. Que Marta, María y Lázaro que eran amigos de Cristo. And so they come and they tell Jesus, vienen y le dicen a Jesús, Lazarus is sick. Lázaro está enfermo. Verse 4, miren el verso 4. When Jesus hears this, it says when he hears this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. Que esta enfermedad, dice, no es para muerte. He says, no. He says, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Dice, sino para la gloria de Dios, para que el Hijo de Dios sea glorificado por ella. Jesus loved Martha, it tells us in verse 5. Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, yet when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stays there 2 more days. En el verso 5 dice que Jesús amaba a Marta y a su hermana y a Lázaro. Dice, cuando oyó pues que estaba enfermo, se quedó 2 días más en el lugar donde estaba. Now, this is interesting for me. Esto es interesante para mí. Jesus had already predicted that Lazarus was going to die. Cristo ya había predestinado que Lázaro iba a morir. And not only does he not respond to the calling, but he even takes longer on purpose. No solamente no respondió rápidamente a la enfermedad de Lázaro, pero dice que hasta como que se tardó aún más, 2 días más. You see, Jesus responded not like we would. Jesús no respondió como nosotros fuéramos respondido. You see, when somebody tells us, hey, your loved one or your friend is sick, I'm sure that we would drop everything and run to them. Cuando alguien nos dice que alguien de nosotros que amamos, ¿verdad? Mucho, que está bastante enfermo, dejaríamos todo lo que estaba ahí para irnos a ver a nuestro pariente o nuestro amigo para ver qué enfermedad o cómo está. But yet Jesus waited 2 days. Mas Jesús esperó 2 días más. In verse 7, it says that his disciples say, en verso 7 dice que sus discípulos le dicen, o él le dice a los discípulos, let us go back to Judea. Vamos otra vez a Judea. Verse 8, but Rabbi, Master, they said, a short while ago the Jews tried to stone you, and yet you are going back there. Verse 9, Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours of daylight? A man who walks by day will not stumble, for he sees the world's light. It is when he walks by night that he stumbles, for he has, no light. And he said this, after he said this, he went on to tell them in verse 11, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep. You see that? But I'm going there to wake him up. En el verso 11 dice ahí, dicho esto, les dijo después, nuestro amigo Lázaro duerme, mas voy para despertarle. Now you have to understand this. He has his disciples around him, tiene sus discípulos con él. This whole time he's trying to tell his disciples, I am the bread of life. I am the water. I am the one that sustains life. Yo soy el pan de vida, les decía Jesús anterior, en los capítulos anteriores, les decía, yo soy el pan de vida. Yo soy el agua de vida. Yo soy el que sostengo la vida. Remember when he fed the 5,000? ¿Se recuerdan cuando dio de comer a los 5,000? And even after all that big miracle that they see, después de ver tanto milagro que hizo Jesús, they still weren't getting the picture. They still couldn't get it in their minds who Jesus was. No podían ellos captar en sus mentes, después de tanto milagro, de que ellos pudieran ver que Él era el Hijo de Dios, el que daba vida. That is why it was important for Jesus to say these words so that they might believe in the Son of God. Para que ellos puedan venir a creer en el Hijo de Dios, that He is life, que Él es vida. It says there in verse 12, the disciples replied, Lord, if He sleeps, will He get better? Or He will get better. En verso 12 dijeron entonces sus discípulos, Señor, si duerme, sanará. Here it tells us that Jesus used a euphemism. In other words, it's a better way of saying it. Saying that he's dead, using a better word. Era algo Cristo estaba usando una palabra para describir algo terrible y no hacerlo sonar tan feo, ¿verdad? Por eso decía que Lázaro dormía. They didn't quite understand that, como que no muy bien entendido eso. Because now they're thinking, well, if he's sleeping, he'll get better. Porque luego dicen, pues si duerme se va a mejorar. But in verse 13, it tells us very clearly, Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought that he meant a natural sleep. Dice, pero Jesús decía esto de la muerte de Lázaro, y ellos pensaron que hablaba de reposar del sueño. Verse 14, so then they told him plainly, or he tells them plainly, Lazarus is dead. Lázaro está muerto, ha muerto. And for your sake, says Jesus Christ, I am glad that I was not there. Sounds pretty strange, right? You would think that he would have said, and I'm glad that I was there. But he says, I'm glad that I am not there for your sake, so that you may believe. And then he says, but let us go to him. Dice, y me alegro por vosotros de no haber estado allí, para que creéis, mas vamos a él. And then Thomas, remember Thomas, the doubting Thomas? He was a good student. He always asked questions. Era un discípulo que siempre hacía preguntas, ¿verdad? Tomás, que le faltaba un poco la fe. Thomas said to the rest of the disciples, let us go that we may die with him. Vamos a ir para que muramos con él. Thomas's words are pretty interesting. Las palabras de Tomás son interesantes because it tells us that he was devoted. He was a devoted disciple to say that whatever happens, he was willing to go through it with Christ. See, nobody else said that. Tomás aquí en esta frase, cuando él dice que vamos con él para que muramos con él, demuestra la devoción que tenía Tomás para con el Mesías, con el Maestro. Que si iban a pasar por la muerte, pues él también estaba listo para ir con él hasta la muerte. But Jesus wasn't calling them to die at this point. No les estaba hablando a la muerte, but he was talking about Lazarus being dead. Verse 17, el verso 17, it tells us there that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for how many days? 4 days. Lázaro ya había muerto, estaba en el sepulcro 4 días. Now, it was Jewish tradition that when someone died, era costumbre, tradición de los judíos, que cuando alguien moría, they would quickly bury that body within the 24 hours. Que rápidamente sepultaban a alguien dentro de esas 24 horas. It is believed that the bodies were always put in a tomb. Los cuerpos siempre se los ponían en una tumba. When the bodies would begin to dissolve and become dust, cuando los cuerpos deshacían y nomás solamente quedaba el polvo, ¿verdad? Y los huesos. Their custom was to use what is called an ossuary. Y no sé cómo se dice esa palabra en español. Pero era una caja. It was like a small box. And they would gather your remains, your bones, and use that box to bury it. So in other words, you weren't buried complete. No era una costumbre de que después de tiempo iba uno, recogía los huesos y todo el polvo que quedaba y lo echaban en una caja pequeña. Y en esa caja entonces ya lo enterraban a uno, para no tomar mucho espacio en un cementerio. In a cemetery, they wouldn't take that much room. So that's why Lazarus is taken to this tomb. Por eso es que Lázaro se lo llevan a este sepulcro. Because now he's wrapped up. Ahora lo envolvieron. And they put all the ointments that needed to be put on him. Y lo ungieron, ¿verdad? Con todo lo que era necesario para el cuerpo. And they shut the door. Y cerraron la puerta. 4 days. 4 días. Let's look at we were in verse 17. Verse 18, verso 18. Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. Dice que ahí en Betania, dice, estaba cerca de Jerusalén, como a 15 estados, y muchos de los judíos habían venido a Marta y a María para consolarlas por su hermano. Now mind you, now there's 4 days that have gone. Ahora son 4 días que se han pasado. And more people are getting there. Y más gente está llegando allí. And now here comes Jesus with his disciples. Y ahora viene Jesús con sus discípulos. Verse 21, verso 21, Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. Dice el verso 21, y Marta dijo a Jesús, Señor, si hubieses estado aquí, mi hermano no habría muerto. Mas también sé ahora que todo lo que pidas a Dios, Dios te lo dará. And Jesus says to her, y Jesús le dijo a ella, a la mujer, a Marta, your brother will rise again. Tu hermano resucitará. Your brother will rise again. But I want you to look at Martha's answer. Vamos a mirar la respuesta de Marta. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Dice Marta le dijo, yo sé que resucitará en la resurrección en el día postrero. You know what Martha just did? ¿Sabe lo que hizo Marta? She declared her faith in God. Ella declaró aquí su fe en Dios. See, she wasn't afraid of death. Ella no tenía miedo a la muerte, because she confidently could say, I know that he will rise again because you will resurrect him at the last day. Yo sé que él la muerte no es para siempre, sino que lo vas a resucitar en ese día cuando tú regreses. Jesus said to her, verse 25, Cristo le dice a Marta, I am the resurrection and the life. Yo soy la resurrección y la vida. He who believes in me will live, even though he dies. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. And then Jesus says, do you believe this? Do you believe this? Le dijo Jesús, yo soy la resurrección y la vida. El que cree en mí, aunque esté muerto, vivirá. Luego el 26, y todo aquel que vive y cree en mí, no morirá eternamente. Y luego le dice Jesús una pregunta, ¿crees esto? Do you believe this? Do you believe that I am the resurrection? ¿Crees tú que yo soy la resurrección? I am the sustainer of life. Yo soy el que sostengo la vida. I am the giver of life. Yo soy el dador de la vida. Go to John 6. Don't lose John 11. I want you to go to John 6. Juan capítulo 6, no pierdan ahí Juan 11, pero rápidamente vamos para Juan 6, 39, verse 39. Verse 39. And this is the will, Jesus is talking here again, and this is the will of him who sent me, that I shall lose none of all that he has given me, but raise him up at the last day. For my Father, in verse 40, for my Father's will is that everyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life. And I will raise him up at the last day. Dice el verso 39, dice, y esta es la voluntad del Padre, el que me envió, que todo lo que me diere no pierda yo nada, sino que lo resucite en el día postrero. Y esta es la voluntad de aquel que me ha enviado, que todo aquel que va o que ve al Hijo y cree en él, tenga vida eterna. Y yo le resucitaré en el día postrero. Verse 25 is saying a couple of things there. In John chapter 11, en Juan 11, verso 25, nos está dando ciertos puntos ahí que podemos ver. For one, Jesus is saying that he is the resurrection and life. Que ahí nos da el punto de que Cristo está diciendo que Él es la resurrección, que Él es vida. And the second point, y el segundo punto, death does not triumph over the believer. Que la muerte no triunfa sobre el Creador, o sobre el que cree, el creyente. Physical death is not our ultimate end. La muerte física no es nuestro fin, no es nuestro último fin. Think about this. The story of Lazarus is very interesting. People die, right? People die, and people automatically will tell you his spirit has gone up. His life has gone up. He's in paradise. Muchos dicen, murió la persona, y ya la persona ya entró al paraíso. Think about this. Piénsenlo. Why would Jesus take him out of paradise, talking about Lazarus, and bring him back to earth? ¿Por qué Cristo lo quita del paraíso para traérselo para acá nuevamente a la tierra? If I were Lazarus, I'd probably be like, I thought we were friends. Right? Yo si era Lázaro le dijera a Cristo, pues yo pensaba que éramos amigos, yo prefiero quedarme en el paraíso. But this wasn't the belief of any of these that were here. Esta no era la creencia de los que estaban aquí. You see, they all knew that he was dead. Todos sabían que ya estaba muerto. Nobody said that he was wandering around or that they saw some type of movement. Jesus needed to make sure that he was dead. 4 days. Cristo quería estar seguro que iba a estar muerto 4 días. Para que ya nadie estuviera preguntando. Yo vi que se movió. ¿Verdad? Yo sospecho que a lo mejor así entró medio muertito y algo, ¿verdad? Algo pasó. No, they made sure that he was dead. Estuvieron asegurados que estaba muerto. Ya eran 4 días. I think even the sisters say, Lord, by this time he smells. Ya para ahorita decía la hermana de Lázaro, ¿verdad? Que ya para ahorita ya el cuerpo ya, you know, he smells. Tiene un olor feo. All right, let's go back to the story. John 11. Vamos a regresar a la historia en Juan 11. Jesus had in mind this thing. Cristo tenía en mente esto. He needed to show them the glory of God that was on earth. Cristo tenía que demostrar la gloria de Dios que había llegado ahí con ellos. He was the glory of God. Él era la gloria de Dios aquí en la tierra, here on earth. The resurrection that Lazarus received, la resurrección que Lázaro recibe, was from the physical. Lo físico fue lo que recibió. Let's look on here. It says, Jesus says in verse 25, one more time. I love this verse. I am the resurrection, says Jesus, and the life. And he who believes in me will live, even though he dies. Even though you die, it's not an ultimate death. Aunque usted muera, estábamos diciendo, no es lo último de la muerte. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? ¿Lo crees? Verse 27, verso 27, this woman answers, and she says, yes, Lord, she told him, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who was come into the world. Those are strong testaments. A strong testimony. Le dijo ella en el verso 27, yo he creído que tú eres el Cristo, el Hijo de Dios, que has venido al mundo. You are the one that we were waiting for. Tú eres aquel que lo esperábamos. You are this Messiah that was promised to us. Tú eras aquel Mesías que se nos había prometido. Verse 28, verso 28. Verse 28. And after she had said this, she went back. And she calls Mary. She calls Mary, and she says, the Master is here. Ha llegado el Maestro. And he's asking for you. Está preguntando por ti. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus entered the village, but he was still at the place where Martha had met him. Verse 31, miren el verso 31. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house comforting her noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to go mourn there. But it says that she reaches to the place where Jesus was at and saw him, and Mary falls to his feet. Dice que esta mujer, María, va y se cae a los pies de Jesús. And her response is a little bit different. La respuesta de ella es un poco diferente. She says, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Señor, si estuvieras aquí, mi hermano no fuera muerto. And Jesus begins to see her crying, weeping. And the Jews who had come along with her also began to cry. And he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. And then he just tells them, where is he at? Where have you laid the body? ¿Dónde lo pusiste? And they take him And in verse 35, it says there that Jesus wept. Jesús lloró. Jesus wept. This is about the only time in these stories that you're going to find an emphasis on the emotion that Jesus demonstrated. I don't know if he was saddened by the fact that these people had no faith. No sé si estaba triste porque la gente que estaba aquí le faltaba la fe. Because the response of the crowd in verse 36, la respuesta de los judíos que estaban allí, they noticed that. Notaron la emoción. And they began to say, see how he loved him. Mira como lo amaba. But then some of them said, these would be the haters, I guess. Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? I've always said that in death, it brings either the good in people or it brings the worst in people. I've always noticed that. Yo he notado que cuando muere alguien, puede traer lo mejor de una persona, de los que quedan, o puede traer lo peor. Un carácter peor. Well, here would be the worst. So now they're criticizing him. Jesus once more, in verse 38, Jesus once more deeply moved came to the tomb. And it was a cave with with a stone laid across the entrance. And he asked them to take away the stone. Les dice que quitar la piedra. I want you to go to verse 40. Then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believe, you would see the glory of God? Jesús le dijo, ¿no te he dicho que si crees, verás la gloria de Dios? And so they took away the stone. And Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me, and I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe. That is important. I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. Dice, yo sabía, le dice al Padre, yo sabía que siempre me oyes, pero lo dije por causa de la multitud que estaba alrededor para que crean que tú me has enviado. And when he said this, he called in a loud voice and called Lazarus, come out. Y en gran voz llamó a Lázaro, ven fuera. And Lazarus is resurrected. Y Lázaro es resucitado. This caused a lot of difficulty among the crowd that was there. Esto causó mucha dificultad en los que estaban ahí. Because some were looking for any little thing to use against Jesus. Muchos de ellos estaban buscando algo nomás para dar contra Jesús, contra el Mesías. When I think about our culture and the people and the things that they do and the things that they say during this time. Again, I wonder if they are aware of who they are invoking. Who are they calling upon? Who are they are tampering with? I wonder if they realize that they're invoking the enemy. Durante estos tiempos me causa ese pensamiento de que estas personas en sus celebraciones del Día de los Muertos, si saben ellos a quién están invocando durante estos tiempos. I think it's because of their ignorance they can't see that. Por su ignorancia no lo pueden ver. Jesus here gives Lazarus life. Cristo aquí le da a Lázaro vida. To prove to us, para tener de prueba, that He is the resurrection. Que Él es la resurrección. That He is life. Que Él es vida. It puts to end all other superstitious, all other stories that you had ever heard. Esto pone al fin a todo cosa supersticiosa que usted ha escuchado. Y que se apareció acá un espíritu y que acá se apareció otro espíritu. But there's a spirit that appeared here, maybe there. Lazarus is resurrected and given life. Lázaro es resucitado y se le da vida. But it wasn't the eternal resurrection. No fue la resurrección eterna. Lazarus ended up dying, his physical death. Lázaro también murió en lo físico. But what was proclaimed there, lo que fue proclamado allí, is the faith that he looked at the Son and was given life. Fue la proclamación de que él vino al Hijo de Dios y se le dio vida. I want to take you to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. 1 Corintios capítulo 15. You know what's beautiful about this? That even though death is something sometimes we don't want to talk about or have to go through, as a believer in Christ, there's always hope. There's always the good news, even in death. Que algo que interesante para nosotros como creyentes en el Señor es que aunque no nos gusta hablar de la muerte, hay una esperanza. Hay algo que nos espera, algo hermoso que nos espera. In 1 Corinthians 15, verse 20, it says, "But Christ has indeed been raised from the dead." This is victory over death. Dice, mas ahora Cristo ha resucitado de los muertos. Esto es victoria sobre la muerte. Christ has indeed been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. What does that mean? That He is the first one to have ever overcome the ultimate death. Death no longer has victory over Him and over every believer in Christ. Dice allí que Cristo ha resucitado a los muertos, primicias de los que durmieron es hecho. En otras palabras, Cristo es el único que ha resucitado y ha tenido victoria sobre la muerte. So let's get this right. Vamos a tomar esto y hacerlo correcto. Nobody else has done this. Nadie más lo ha hecho. Nobody else has come out on November 1st or November 2nd to eat their food or drink their drink. Nadie más ha salido del sepulcro, ¿verdad? A comerse su comida favorita o a tomarse su bebida favorita en los sepulcros. It says that Jesus is the first one. Dice que Jesucristo es el primero. Y lo hermoso es que si Cristo tiene victoria sobre la muerte, también dice que los creyentes, como leíamos en Juan 6, que Cristo es vida. Y aquel que ve al Hijo de Dios y la gloria de Dios también recibirá una resurrección. Vamos a ser resucitados. We will also be resurrected. For since death came through a man, in verse 21, death was introduced by Adam. The resurrection of the dead comes also through a man, Jesus Christ. Verse 22, for as in Adam all died, so Christ will be made alive. But each in his own turn. Christ, the Apostle Paul puts it in order. Christ, the first fruits. Then, when he comes, those who belong to him. Did you get that? We're not going out of order. I'd rather follow what's being said, what I find in the Word of God. Dice, porque cuanto la muerte entró por un hombre, dice el verso 21 de 1 Corintios 15, dice, porque cuanto la muerte entró por un hombre, también por un hombre la resurrección de los muertos. Porque así como en Adán todos mueren, también en Cristo todos serán vivificados, pero cada uno en su debido orden. O sea, no nos podemos salir del orden. Cristo, las primicias, o sea, el primero. Luego, los que son de Cristo, ¿cuándo resucitan? En su venida. That is when we get resurrected. That is when the dead in Christ will be resurrected. Is death forever? ¿Es la muerte para siempre? Not if you're a believer in Christ. Not if you are a believer in Jesus Christ and have received Him. There is no death. There is no death. It's just a moment of us in a sleep. Es un momento así como dice Jesús, ¿verdad? Está dormido. But when I return, says Jesus Christ, I will resurrect those that have believed in me. Resucitaré a aquellos que han creído en mí, porque yo soy vida. Yo soy la resurrección. I am the resurrection. I am life. It goes on to say there that the last enemy to be destroyed is going to be death. In verse 25. For he must reign. Verso 25. For he must reign until he has put all his enemies under his feet. Verse 26. The last enemy to be destroyed is death. El último enemigo que será destruido, dice ahí el verso 26, es la muerte. We don't like death. No nos gusta la muerte. Well, it's going to be destroyed. Va a ser destruida. No longer will we have to deal with it. Ya no vamos a tener que mortificarnos de la muerte. Ephesians chapter 5. Let's go back to the book of Ephesians chapter 5, and I want to leave you with these words. Young people, if you're listening and you've yet to give your life over to Christ, I want to just share with you and shed some light. You want to have eternal life. There's no one else but Jesus Christ. You want salvation? You want everlasting life? He is the giver of life. Cristo es el que da vida. Si usted no lo ha aceptado como su Salvador, no sé qué espera. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 6, in the verse 6, gives us another warning. Nos da otra amonestación. Let no one deceive you. Let no one deceive you with empty words. Let nobody deceive you that they saw your loved one that just passed away. Oh, people just fall for that, don't they? Oh, well, she told me that she spoke to my mom or to my loved one. Que ya no ser engañados, ¿verdad? Dice el verso 6, engañe con palabras vanas. Mucha gente cuando pierde a alguien, ¿verdad? Van con una persona y le dice, pues, fíjate que hablé con aquella persona que murió. Y te quiere decir algo. They want to tell you something from beyond the grave. Te quieren decir algo de la sepultura. Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived with empty words. It says there, let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of such things, God's wrath comes on those who are disobedient. Therefore, do not be partakers with them. Dice, nadie nos engañe con palabras vanas, porque por estas cosas viene la ira de Dios sobre los hijos de desobediencia. No seáis pues participantes con ellos. Don't cheer them on. No les vamos a animar, ¿verdad? Ah, qué bonito tu disfraz, ¿verdad? I like your costume. That's so cool. Right? Keep going. Add some of this. Add some of that. Don't be partakers of that. Don't be partakers of our culture around us. Verse 8, verso 8, for you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Porque en otro tiempo erais tinieblas, mas ahora sois luz en el Señor. And then it tells us there, because we are light, live as children of light. Wow. If I belong to the light, si yo pertenezco a la luz, if I belong to the light, si yo pertenezco a aquella vida, if I belong to the resurrection, si yo pertenezco a la resurrección, then I need to live in light as a child of the light, not of darkness. Not of darkness. Dice el verso, estamos en el verso 8, porque en otro tiempo erais tinieblas, mas ahora sois luz en el Señor. Andar como hijos de luz. Ya no andar en oscuridad, ya no andar en ignorancia. Ya no andar como estábamos antes, animando a aquellos que se ponían sus disfraces y les acompañábamos. What great victory we have in Christ. Qué gran victoria tenemos en Cristo Jesús. We don't know what can happen to us tomorrow. No sabemos lo que nos puede acontecer el día de mañana. But we are sure of one thing. Pero estamos asegurados de una cosa. That He is my resurrection. Que Cristo es mi resurrección. Amen. And if something happens, y algo acontece, I'm going to wait for him to the end.
Amén.
Yo lo voy a esperar hasta el fin.
Amén.
May God bless you. Dios les bendiga.
Gracias a Dios por estas palabras, ¿verdad? Que nos dan ánimo y también nos dan esperanza. These words of encouragement and also give us hope in God, in the Lord. Vamos a ponernos de pie.